Title: The Uninvited Guest. In a quaint cottage nestled at the edge of a dense forest, a young couple, Emma and David, sought solace from the chaos of city life. They had purchased the cottage with dreams of a peaceful retreat, a place where they could escape the hustle and bustle and reconnect with nature. But their idyllic sanctuary soon turned into a nightmare when they received an unexpected visitor. It was a cold, rainy night when the knock came at the door, echoing through the empty rooms like a harbinger of doom. Emma hesitated, her hand trembling as she reached for the doorknob, unsure of who could be calling at such a late hour. As she swung open the door, she was met with a sight that sent chills down her spine. Standing on the doorstep was a stranger, drenched from head to toe, his clothes clinging to his skin like a second layer. His eyes were wild with fear, and his voice trembled as he spoke. "Please," he begged, his words barely a whisper. "You have to help me. They're coming for me." Emma exchanged a nervous glance with David before ushering the stranger inside, offering him warmth and shelter from the storm. As they sat around the crackling fire, the stranger revealed his name was James, a traveler passing through the area in search of refuge from the elements. But as the night wore on and the storm raged outside, strange things began to happen. Shadows danced along the walls, and cold drafts swept through the cottage, chilling them to the bone. James grew increasingly agitated, his eyes darting around the room as if he were being hunted by unseen forces. And then, just as suddenly as he had arrived, James vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but a trail of muddy footprints leading out into the night. Emma and David searched the cottage frantically, but there was no sign of their uninvited guest, as if he had never been there at all. As they tried to make sense of what had happened, they were consumed by a sense of unease, a feeling that they were not alone in the cottage. Strange noises echoed through the empty rooms, and the air grew thick with a sense of dread. And then, in the dead of night, they heard it. A soft whispering coming from the darkness beyond, growing louder and more insistent with each passing moment. They huddled together in terror, their hearts pounding in their chests as they realized that they were not alone in the cottage. For lurking in the shadows was something ancient and malevolent, something that had been drawn to their sanctuary by the darkness of the storm. And as they cowered in fear, they knew that they were no longer safe, that they were at the mercy of an uninvited guest who would stop at nothing to claim their souls for its own. Title: The Haunted Trail. Deep in the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, nestled among towering pines and ancient oaks, lay a trail that few dared to tread. Known simply as the Haunted Trail, it was said to be cursed by the spirits of those who had met their untimely end along its treacherous path. Legend had it that the trail was haunted by the ghost of a young woman named Eliza, who had disappeared without a trace while hiking with her friends many years ago. Some said she had fallen victim to the rugged terrain, while others whispered of foul play at the hands of a jealous lover. Despite the warnings from locals and the ominous tales that surrounded it, a group of friends decided to test their courage and hike the infamous trail one fateful October evening. Among them was Emily, a fearless adventurer with a penchant for the paranormal, who had always been drawn to the mysteries of the unknown. As they set out into the gathering darkness, the air grew thick with tension, and the forest seemed to come alive with whispers of the past. Shadows danced among the trees, and strange noises echoed through the underbrush, sending shivers down the spines of the intrepid explorers. As they pressed deeper into the woods, the trail grew narrower and more treacherous, winding its way through steep ravines and rocky outcrops. With each step, the sense of unease grew stronger, and Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. As night fell and the moon cast its eerie glow upon the forest, they stumbled upon an old abandoned cabin hidden among the trees. Its weathered walls loomed ominously in the darkness, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay. Ignoring the warning signs, the group decided to take shelter in the cabin for the night, seeking refuge from the encroaching darkness. But as they settled in, and the fire crackled in the hearth, strange things began to happen. Whispers echoed through the empty rooms, and the sound of footsteps echoed down the darkened halls. Shadows danced along the walls, and cold draughts swept through the cabin, chilling them to the bone. As they huddled together in terror, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they were not alone. Something sinister lurked in the shadows, watching their every move with malevolent intent. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the haunting ceased, and the cabin fell silent once more. But the sense of dread lingered, hanging in the air like a heavy fog, as they realized that they were not the only ones to have sought shelter within its walls. As dawn broke and the first light of morning filtered through the trees, the group fled the cabin, their hearts pounding with fear. They knew they had stumbled upon something beyond their understanding, something ancient and malevolent that lurked in the depths of the forest, waiting to claim its next victim. And as they emerged from the haunted trail, shaken but alive, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that they had unleashed something dark and terrible upon the world, something that would haunt their nightmares for years to come. Title: The Vanishing Camper. In the heart of the dense woods stood a small clearing, where the trees parted just enough to let a sliver of moonlight trickle through the thick canopy above. It was here that a group of friends had set up camp for the weekend, eager for a few days of adventure and escape from the hustle and bustle of city life. Among them was Sarah, an avid outdoors woman with a love for the unknown. Her curiosity often led her down paths less traveled, and this weekend was no exception. As the group gathered around the crackling campfire, swapping stories and roasting marshmallows, Sarah's eyes danced with excitement at the prospect of exploring the wilderness beyond. As the night wore on and the fire burned low, a faint voice pierced the silence, barely audible over the rustling leaves and chirping crickets. Sarah's heart skipped a beat as she strained to make out the words, "Help! Please! Help me!" The group exchanged nervous glances before springing into action, grabbing flashlights and heading into the darkness in search of the source. They followed the voice deeper into the woods, the beam of their lights cutting through the inky blackness like a knife. After what felt like hours of stumbling over roots and ducking under branches, they stumbled upon a lone figure huddled on the forest floor. It was a man, disheveled and terrified, his eyes wide with fear as he clutched a tattered map in his trembling hands. "My friends," he gasped, his voice barely a whisper, They vanished. We were hiking, and then they were gone." Despite their skepticism, the group couldn't ignore the genuine terror in the man's eyes. They searched the area frantically, calling out for the missing campers, but the forest remained eerily silent, swallowing their voices like a hungry beast. As dawn broke and the first light of morning filtered through the trees, the group returned to their campsite empty-handed, their minds racing with questions and uncertainty. Who was the mysterious man, and what had happened to his friends? And more importantly, could they be next? Throughout the day, they combed the woods, searching every inch of the forest for any sign of the missing campers. But their efforts proved fruitless. It was as if they had vanished into thin air, leaving behind nothing but a lingering sense of dread and unease. As night fell once again, and the group gathered around the campfire, their nerves on edge, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of twigs sent shivers down her spine. And try as she might, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce. Just as they were about to turn in for the night, a blood-curdling scream pierced the darkness, echoing through the trees like a banshee's wail. Without hesitation, the group sprang into action, grabbing whatever weapons they could find and rushing towards the source of the sound. What they found chilled them to the bone. In the clearing where they had first heard the voice, they found the man from the night before, his body twisted and contorted in a grotesque parody of human form. His eyes were wide with terror, frozen in a silent scream that spoke volumes of the horrors he had witnessed. But there was no sign of his friends, no clue as to what had befallen them. They had simply vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but questions and a sense of profound loss. As the group gathered around the fallen man, their faces pale and drawn, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. And as she looked up into the darkness beyond, she knew, deep down, that whatever had taken the missing campers was still out there, waiting, watching, and hungering for more.